Currently, foreclosure is up 25% in Arizona compared to the last quarter of 2025. And across the country, the foreclosure also up 9%. So what does that mean to the market? What does that mean to you as the buyer? We are going to go through those data and show you how impactful it is to your home buying process, as well as I'm telling you the reason why everybody is not giving up on their house right now. With that, let's dive right into the information. Welcome everyone to the market update. So in front of you right here, I just want to show you the number of foreclosure in the entire country, in the entire US. So for quarter one of 2026, the total number of foreclosure is about 120,000. Now, when you look at quarter four of 2025, that number is actually about 110,000. So that from 110 to 120 is about 9% increase. Now, if you look at further, you're gonna see quarter three of 2025 is about 100. Quarter two of 2025 is also another 100. Quarter one of 2025 is less at around 95,000, right? Quarter four of 2024 is less at about 83,000. So as you see here, within the last 2 years, we actually have the increased number of foreclosure. And that is a concern to a lot of people. And that is a legitimate concern, right? Because obviously the number of foreclosure is increased by years, by quarter. And according to this, quarter one of 2026 has a highest number of foreclosure with an increase of 9,000. So the expectation is, of course, the Q2 is actually at a higher number, right? Before we jump right into any conclusion, let's look at the Arizona data. So this in front of you right here is also similar information. This is the number of notice of trustee set. This is a warning that the bank sent to the homeowner if they late in for 90 days already. So this chart right here at 2026, at the year 2026, we see that for the first 4 months of the year, there's about 500 homes that received the notice of trustee sale, right? Now, for the entire 2025, I agree that there's some time that is go as high as 500 here for March and October, but overall it's about 400, right? It's about 400 notice of trustee sale per month. So that is an increase from 400 to 500, and that is about 25% increase compared to 2025 to 2026. Right? So there you have it. You have two different numbers. Number one, across the US, a 9% increase in the number of foreclosure. And number two is in Arizona, is about 25% increase. A lot of people are gonna drop the mic and say, this is a crashing market. Obviously, that's the higher number of foreclosure, right? But before we jump right into any conclusion, let me show you two more charts. This chart is actually show you the similar data, the number of foreclosure across the country at a longer time period. Specifically, we are going to look at from 2005 to all the way to 2026. That is 21 years period, right? So if we look at this, you still see that at 2026 is about 110. Obviously, the number cannot change, right? 120 actually, number 120. And that is still the highest when you compare to 2024 all the way until now. But if you look at a little bit further, you see that, well, except for the COVID period during 2020 and 2021, the number of foreclosure actually dropped because at that time, they have a low interest rate and a lot of people try to refinance, right? So there's no reason to give up the mortgage. So that's the reason why the number of foreclosure dropped. But if you look at further, you actually see a very much higher number of foreclosure before COVID. Right? We're talking about 115, 150, about 200, about 250, about 300, all the way up to 900 during the foreclosure crisis, right? And then before that is about 200. 200, 150, 120. Now, of course, this one I don't think this is considered normal. There's two abnormal periods in this chart right here. Number one is the crazily high amount of foreclosure here across the country. And number two is the extremely small amount of foreclosure across the country during the COVID. Beside that, we can see that the number of foreclosure is probably about 150. Do you agree? There's some period that is 300 here, but some period there's only 100. So I would say that the average is 150 to 200. And for that reason, we can see that even though 120 is a high number in a short period, but it's still very low compared to the long-term average that we have across the country. What about Arizona? Arizona has a similar chart, right? This is the number of notice of trustee sales that the bank sent to the homeowners. So we see that right here, similar concept, similar situation, right? During COVID, the notice of trustee sales actually get very low, right? And then if we go back, it's about 500, 600, 800, and all the way to 10,000. 10,000 a month, that's crazy amount. Well, of course, that is during the mortgage crisis period, which is causing a lot of people giving up on houses. Now, before that, we are having about 1,000. So Arizona has the same kind of curve, right? The long-term average, if we get rid of this crazy period and this short time, I would say it's about 700 to 800 notice of trustee sale per month. Is a normal number. So in both situations, we see that yes, it is higher in short term, but at the long term, we still way below the long-term average. In conclusion for this, the current market is actually not abnormal. It's actually becoming what we call a normal market and no longer extremely competitive market for the buyers or extremely competitive for the sellers in this market, right? So these are the two extremes that a lot of people remember about, but they don't remember about a normal market at all because there's no special. It's just normal. And for that reason, every increase in every increase like this, causing the people to think it is an extreme, but it's not, right? To be an extreme, it has to be, we're talking about 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. We're way below that number at this time in this market. For that reason, I do have the buyer webinar because there's a lot of concern about the market and there's a lot of information here and there, and sometimes you feel overwhelmed about the information. And for those of you who are engineers, who are nerdy like me, right? I like to look at all the information all at once. I used to be an engineer too, so I can say that engineer is nerdy, right? And it becomes analysis paralysis. I'm thinking too much. I have to account for all the information before I make any decision. I do have the buyer webinar. This is specifically designed for first-time immigrant home buyers who come to the US, want to buy their first house, build their foundational wealth, build their family wealth, build their foundation in the US. This webinar is designed specifically for you to clarify all the information that you receive. In this webinar, I am going to talk about how you're going to choose the agents, how to save up for the down payment, how to get the right loan at the right budget for your family, how to select the perfect house for your family, and many more information. Especially, I will talk about how to create a wealth engine through real estate as well. So all of that will be provided for free in this webinar. If you are interested, feel free to scan the QR code on the right corner below and then sign up for the webinar for free. Now, I'm gonna go next. Come back to the information. The next chart I'm showing you is a little bit complicated to understand, but this is very important. This is very important chart. Bear with me. So this chart is showing you 6 different types of loan: mortgage, HELOC. Basically, these two are housing related. Mortgage loan type, auto, car, right? Car loan, credit card, student loan, and any other loans available in the US. And this chart right here, each of the lines show you the percentage of people who are 90 days late in their payment. If you pay attention to, for example, the green and the blue, the mortgage and the HELOC, you're going to see that number is about 1%. Meaning out of all the home mortgage available that people have, only about 1% of that is 90 days late. Similarly, if you look at the yellow, which is the car loan, right? Out of all the available auto loan, about 5%, 6% of the people who choose to be late in their payment for 90 days. For the credit card is the highest, right? Out of all the available credit card loan, about 13% of the people choose to pay the balance late. So that's how you interpret the chart. And of course, student loan and any other loan of type. So obviously you see here, if a family who are struggling with financial, right? Maybe they lose the job, or maybe the income just drop, or something happens to their life, right? They will choose the mortgage payment over everything else. They will make sure that the mortgage payment is paid first before anything else, before the car, before the student loan, and before the credit card. Credit card is the last thing they think about. That's why credit card has a so high interest rate, because the risk is very high to the bank, right? So obviously you see, and this is not just currently, but this is over the long-term period, right? You see the blue and the green, except for this period right here, 2008 and 2009 and 2010, obviously these are the period that the mortgage is become way more less affordable for the homeowner. That's why they give up on this. But overall, we see that the mortgage payment is still the top priority of many homeowners. The question is why? Because out of all the mortgage, the loans that you see here, right? Mortgage loan is actually creating an asset for the homeowner. The asset is the house, right? And equity. Grow is an investment. A house is an investment, and it is grow value as a long term. This chart right here, as of 2025, you see this is the amount, the average amount of equity that homeowners has across the country. On average, that number is 295,000 in equity that the homeowner has, right? And in Arizona, that number is 280. Will you give up 280 for a car, maybe for a Toyota, or maybe for a Lexus, right? Or maybe BMW, will you do that? Or maybe you give up to 80 for a student loan that you took 5 or 6 years ago in college? Or do you lose that for a shirt that you bought from using a credit card? The answer is probably no. When you compare the equity that you are going to lose versus the other loan, you have to choose the house. And that's the reason why a lot of people still want to protect the equity that they have in their home. And that's exactly the reason why, even though as of right now, there's 25% of there's an increase of 25% the notice of justice sale, right? But they don't give up. So all of those 500 people who get the notice of justice sale, they may do what we call is pay back and cancel out the notice of justice sale. So don't worry. What I'm going to say is this: even though if you receive the headline saying that the foreclosure go up 30%, 10%, whatever, right? But the fact is, when you compare with the long-term period, it's still at a very low number. Long-term history is still at a very low number. And even that 500 is a concern to you, then look at the equity. Nobody gonna give up on the amount of equity that they have available as of right now. So the market is safe for that reason, even though the foreclosure percentage is increased. And again, I will show with you all the information, all the material in the bio webinar that I have. Like I said, this is a 7-step process for you, the first-time immigrant home buyers in Arizona who are interested in creating a foundational wealth in Arizona for their family. This is for you. I will show you the 7 steps, 7 phases of the magical home buying method to help you buy the first house and build your family future wealth in the future. Thank you. Have a good day.